Johnson, and this is Focus on Liberia. Hit it! From Kemau to Cape Palmo, Mount Nimba to Atlantic Ocean, Obomi Hills to Pokondre, to educate, elevate, and promote. Yeah, focus on Liberia. For Liberia, Liberia. For Liberia, yeah, 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 yeah. From Monday to Sunday. From Monday to Sunday. It's focus on Liberia. Talk about home affairs. Hey. In diaspora. Current affairs. Reliable information. History. Talking about culture. Politics. Education. Entertainment. Business. Sports. Advertisement. Articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia.
At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Ja.
And I am Anthony Sie. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. This is Focus on Liberia. We educate, we elevate, and we promote all things Liberia. The focus, as always, is the nation Liberia. And we can also add, and its people. Liberia is a historical nation. Liberia has had tremendous shares of challenges and responsibilities that are still left to be met. And the people of Liberia, no question whatsoever, are a relenting people of Liberia. To pull it right, they are an unrelenting group of people. Oh yes, Liberians are very unrelenting. And they are people who can endure it all, and sometimes I question myself how these people, or this group of people called Liberia, have been able to do it over the years. But no question, the history is there to tell us how Liberia as a nation and how Liberians as a people have been able to do it so far. In today's edition of the Hour of Politics, I have, as always, yet another unique topic. And my goal here is to present an analysis of the topic. Our topic for today's edition of the Hour of Politics is, where are we with the Office of War Crimes Court for Liberia? Where are we? Do you know where we are? Do you know? And I will try my best to tell us where we are. First thing first, War crimes court. Why war crimes court this late? Somebody may ask. Why war crimes court many years later? Why couldn't we have gotten this done many years ago? Why do we need it now? And that question remains significant in this subject, or with this subject. We need the War and Economic Crimes Court, for we as a people and country have experienced the most raging human calamities of all sorts. Yes, our memories are fresh, and we are all aware of the carnage that befell our nation many years ago when we got at each other in so many different ways, and we destroy ourselves, ruin our country, divided ourselves, and then through all many years back in terms of national development. If there is anything that has ever hurt this country called Liberia, that is the civil war or civil wars that took place in our country. The estimate is that over 250,000 citizens of our brothers and sisters, children, paid the ultimate price by death to that carnage that had engulfed our country many years ago. And because of that, we have never been the same. Talking about the trauma, the scars, and the pain that war or those wars, to pull it right, have brought us. Don't forget about the World War I and World War II, and also don't forget about the major rebellion that started as early as 1989, if I'm not mistaken. We have so many warring factions that occupy so many parts of the country, and they were at it, and brothers and sisters and children were paying the price of the brainlessness that they exhibited at the detriment of the nation and at the expense of the lives of many Liberians, women raped. And if you think about how some of our brothers and sisters were killed, then the reasons are more than enough to say there must be a closure. Fast forward, there was this Truth and Reconciliation Commission to look into what brought us or what had brought us to that point. They did their work, and they had recommendations, major among which include the War and Economic Crimes Code to be established to hold perpetrators accountable for the crimes that they committed, crimes against humanity, the violations of international humanitarian laws. So this idea of a war crimes code now has been that which this nation has been grappling with. We have governments in the past who could not give us this quote. The new administration is trying to be different by doing what we have all wanted all along, to establish the court that would do the business of the people. Business meaning establishing a court, a judicial process that will hold perpetrators or alleged perpetrators accountable for the crimes they committed, not only against the state, but against the citizens of Liberia. Behaviors and acts and criminalities and crimes that have dogged our country many years ago solely and in a very significant way responsible for our backwardness today. Many of you are aware of Zogos. Many of you are aware of how people are traumatized. Mental health is more than visible in the nation Liberia. And it's almost obvious now, many Liberians tend to not, value the life of their fellow Liberians not much. The culture of impunity, the disrespect for laws and human lives continue to remain visible in the nation Liberia today. I am just from there. You may not understand it, but it is just obvious. And so, folks, the new administration of Joseph Yumambwaka, the Bwakun government is saying, we will get the business done. Joseph Bwaka has acted, and he has done what others in the past have not done. Now, whether or not is commendable is a question that is left to be answered. The Office for the Establishment of the War and Economic Crimes Code was created through an executive order by President Joseph Yumambwaka. This office is responsible to coordinate all efforts and spearhead all efforts that will lead to the establishment of the War and Economic Crimes Codes, so that at long last we can have this much needed and much talked about code to hold perpetrators or alleged perpetrators accountable for the crimes that were committed against the state and against the people of Liberia. And so here we are today. We have an office. Where are we now with that office that was created by the president? Are there concerns? Are there issues? Are there disagreements? This is what we are here to assess, to know where we are with this code. So many people have welcomed the idea of this code. But first, let us know what this code is all about. What is the mandate of the code, or what are the responsibilities of the code? So we talk about the mandate of the Office of War and Economic Crimes Code, right? So let's look at that. So the mandate of the code are listed. The mandates, all right? The code is to conduct research and studies that will provide all the information and the processes needed to establish the code that is most needed. Another thing is to select the model for the tribunal. The code will be a criminal tribunal, a war crime tribunal, and so the office will be able to select the model. So meaning how the approach, how will the code operate? What kind of code will it be? Should it be a hybrid code? Should it be an internationalized code? Should it be a local code? They will tell us what model to use for this criminal tribunal that is to be established. The code will also be able to source the funding for the court. The office, will also be responsible to source the funding. In other words, to find the money that we will need for the establishment of the court. The office is also responsible to draft a legislation that will establish the code constitutionally. And also, the office will be responsible to recommend the code scope and duration, how it should operate, and for how long. And of course, this office will also be responsible to recommend an expeditious means for the code, how fast, all right, the code should proceed, how the code should be diligent with its responsibility, how effective will the code be. So that office will be responsible to do that. So those are the responsibility of the code as mandated by the executive order that were created by the president. Now, Are there pluses and minuses about this code as we speak? Sorry, about this office intended to create a code as we speak. So let's look into that. First of all, many people, institutions, countries have welcomed the idea of the Office of War Crimes Code as was issued by the president. Many people have welcomed the idea because the War Crimes Code that we need to be created, there must be an office that will spearhead all the efforts that will lead to the creation of the code, and for the code to pick up the responsibility of holding alleged perpetrators accountable. So this has been welcomed by many people, many institutions, and many countries. The United States, for example, is one of the countries in the world that has welcomed through its government the idea for the establishment of the Office for War Crimes Code. The US government has welcomed the idea. Now, all the members of the human rights community have also welcomed the idea. Many Liberians who support the idea of the War and Economic Crimes Code have also welcomed the idea that we now have an office responsible to create or to establish the War and Economic Crimes Code. And many international institutions, as local institutions, that have been advocating for the establishment of the War and Economic Crimes Code have also, civil society organizations in Liberia have also welcomed the idea. Liberians across the globe who have vested interest and also believe and agree the idea of the War Crime Code is needed for our country have also welcomed the idea. So on the average, the idea of the War Crimes Code has been welcomed. So creating the office that will be responsible to establish the War Crime Code has been welcomed by many Liberians, many institutions, and countries, because they believe that it is the office now that will get onto this promised land of the War and Economic Crimes Code. So many, just to be clear, have welcomed the idea creating the office for the creation of the War and Economic Crimes Code. Now, is that all? No. However, many people are divided on the executive director being selected by the president of the Republic of Liberia. President Joseph Yamam, after issuing an executive order creating the Office for the Establishment of the War and Economic Crimes Code, followed up by appointing an individual to head the Office for the Establishment of the War and Economic Crimes Code. That person's name is Councillor Jenitor Mansakwa. Councillor Jenitor Mansakwa is President Mbwaka's choice for the Office for the creation of War and Economic Crimes Code. He has been selected by the president to be the executive director for that office. He will be the head, or now is the head for that office. Mbwaka's choice for executive director for the Office of the creation of War Crimes Code is not going well with many people, especially those in the human rights community. Those who have been advocating for the creation of the War and Economic Crimes Code. Many of them are completely unhappy with President Mbwaka's choice. Now, not only are they unhappy with President Mbwaka's choice, they are also more unhappy with the process that the president used in selecting this individual to head the Office for the Creation of a War and Economic Crimes Court. They are unhappy. Why are they unhappy? What are their reasons for being very unhappy? Who are some of the individuals who are unhappy with the court? Who are unhappy with not the court, but the executive director being selected by President Bouaka? Who are the individuals who are unhappy with the court? First of all, let us be clear here that there are about 76 Liberia civil society groups who have rejected President Bouaka's choice for executive director. There you have it. 76 Liberian civil society groups reject President Bouaka's choice to head War and Economic Crimes Court Office. So that has been reported by News Public Trust, is a Liberian newspaper that is reporting that 76 civil society groups in Liberia have rejected President Bouaka's choice for executive director for the Office for the Creation of the War and Economic Crimes Court. 76 Liberian Civil Society organizations have said, no, Mr. President, this person is not the best choice to head this office. Why? Doesn't the president have the rights and the power to issue an executive order and decide who to spearhead any such effort for which that executive order has been issued? People in the human rights community are saying, no, we take zero exception to the choice made by the president. Now, let's talk about some of these individuals and why they are unhappy with the president's choice. One such person is former TRC Commissioner Mansa Washington. Commissioner Washington was one of the commissioners who served the Truth and Reconciliation Commission that spearheaded the efforts that provided a platform to hear from alleged perpetrators to tell their story. They did their work, they documented everything, and they made a recommendation. They made many recommendations, by the way, one of which is that there should be a war crimes court created for Liberia. Mansa Washington has long since developed interest in what happened during the conflict and has been wanting to see that there come a closure to the carnage that took place in Liberia. She is one of such advocates for justice and accountability in Liberia, especially concerning the crimes that were committed during the civil wars in Liberia. Mr. Washington has been very, very clear that there must be accountability. And she is voicing her opposition or disagreement to President Bouaka's choice for executive director for the Office for the Creation of War and Economic Crimes Court. And Massa said many things, among which is concerning the executive director being selected by President Bouaka. She said, Janito Massacre is a lawyer who has zero clue about human rights issues in Liberia and the war. So Master Washington is telling us that one of the reasons why Jonathan Massacre is not the right choice to head this office is because he has zero interest or clue when it comes to human rights issues in Liberia and in the world. She went further by saying, Massacre has never interested himself in human rights issues in Liberia. Not even the TRC process that led to the establishment, that led to the recommendation that we are talking about for the creation of the War and Economic Crimes Court, she said. He has never interested in it, not even the TRC process. Worst of all, he is the lawyer who represents the interests of perpetrators against human rights advocates. So Massa is saying another reason for which Councillor Massacre is not the best choice is because he has been representing alleged perpetrators against individuals who are advocating for the establishment of the War and Economic Crimes Court. Massa is one person or one of such persons advocating for the establishment of the War and Economic Crimes Court. Massa was sued by Agnes Taylor. Agnes Taylor is being accused of having a role to play in the war that led to the killing of so many Liberians. Agnes has sued Master Washington. That Master Washington is falsely accusing her of playing a significant role in the war. And so she sued Master, and the lawyer representing Agnes Taylor is Councillor Massacre. So Councillor Massacre is representing someone who is alleged to have played a significant role in the war against somebody who is advocating that there should be a war crime court tribunal so that individuals accused will be investigated and prosecuted. So Master is saying he can be the one representing the people the war crimes court will investigate and subsequently prosecute. And at the same time, be the choice to head this office responsible to create the War and Economic Crimes Court. And here is the thing. Massacre has represented so many individuals who have been accused of playing significant role in the war against individuals and institutions that are advocating for the establishment of the War and Economic Crimes Court. Massacre also served as a lawyer, and he has filed lawsuits against institutions and individuals advocating for the War and Economic Crimes Court. It has been reported that he filed a lawsuit against an institution advocating for the creation of the War Crimes Court. That institution is called Cervical Maximum. All right. So this choice for the office of the establishment of War Crimes Court, the executive director now, Councillor Massacre, filed a lawsuit against this institution that has been working with human rights advocates, leading the efforts for the establishment of the War Crimes Court. Councillor Massacre filed a lawsuit against that institution on behalf of perpetrators, alleged perpetrators. So Commissioner Washington is saying he can be the right choice. The people we want to investigate He is a lawyer for those individuals. So how can you be the lawyer for people who the War Crimes Court will investigate, and then now you are the head to lead the process that will set the foundation, that will set into motion the processes for the establishment of the War Crimes Court? How can you be the one now who will decide how the War Crimes Court will operate when you are representing individuals who the War Crimes Court will persecute? So that is a conflict of interest that makes you to be conflicted and not the right choice. In addition to the fact that, according to Commissioner Washington, Commissioner Washington is saying this man have never entrusted himself with anything, let alone the TRC process. He has zero knowledge, zero clue about human rights issues in Liberia. His interest has been representing individuals, and that is what it has been, to the point that he will represent individuals who are being accused of having a significant role in the War and Economic Crimes Court. How can that person now be the one to head the efforts establishing the War and Economic Crimes Court? For those reasons, Massa is saying, no, he's not the right choice. Now, Commissioner Washington is not stopping there. She continues, President Bouaka is supporting the persecution of human rights advocates. She's arguing that for President Bouaka to choose someone who responsibility or who role or who has been serving as lawyer against people who are advocating for War Crimes Court, taking these individuals to court, it means that President Bouaka is supporting the persecution of War Crimes Court advocate. These people are saying we want a War Crimes Court. That's what they have been saying. And then the person chosen by President Bouaka has been taking these individuals to court, has been representing alleged perpetrators against these individuals. So she's saying, if Mr. Bouaka's choice is somebody who has been taking War Crimes Court advocate to court, then President Bouaka is supporting the persecution of War Crimes Court advocates instead of War Crime Court alleged perpetrators. And she further, the Liberian president has just stuck out the middle finger to the genuine fight for justice in Liberia. That's a strong statement. So she's saying Bouaka's effort here is like someone showing his middle finger to the whole idea for justice in Liberia. And many of you might know what the middle finger means. The middle finger is somebody that's saying, I'm not concerned, I don't care about justice. In essence, that's what she is saying. That is the interpretation of Bouaka's decision by choosing massacre. She said that's what Bouaka is doing. He's giving the middle finger to the fight against justice, and she is unhappy with that decision by President Bouaka. And here also on Focus on Liberia, Commissioner Washington was here, and she was very clear. She said she's going to fight this decision by the president. She's going to fight Councilor Massacre, and she will do everything to stop Commissioner Massacre from becoming or remaining as the head for the office for the creation of the War and Economic Crimes Court. Massa is unhappy. Massa is not the only person who is unhappy. There are institutions that are unhappy. One of such institutions is the Coalition for the Establishment of War and Economic Crimes Court. This institution lead campaigner and head is Adama Denster, who is an advocate for the War and Economic Crimes Court. He and the institution remain very unhappy with President Bouaka's choice for the War and Economic Crimes Court. And this is what he had to say. I read, the Stone Coalition for the Establishment of War and Economic Crimes Court in Liberia described as troubling the fact that Massacre has filed multiple lawsuits against human rights defenders, institutions, and individuals who have long advocated for the establishment of the War Crimes Court. He is also said to have represented Sierra Leonean national Gabriel Massacre, who is being persecuted by the Finnish authorities for crimes committed during Liberia's civil war, which left hundreds of victims in Lofa County because of his alleged brutal action. The coalition argues that a person who has represented alleged perpetrators of gross human rights violations and war crimes cannot also represent the victims and survivors of those same atrocities. This duality, they believe, poses a significant conflict of interest. They are very unhappy. So that is the Coalition for the Establishment of War and Economic Crimes Court speaking. They are saying, look, the man chosen by President Bouaka is not suitable for the job. He is conflicted. This man has represented individuals accused of committing human rights violations in Liberia. One such example is a Sierra Leonean national by the name Gabriel Massacre, whose action led to the death of so many Liberians in Lofa County. In other words, this man is accused of killing Liberian citizens. And he happened to be a Sierra Leone national, and he carried on this alleged act in Liberia by taking away the lives of Liberians during the Civil War. This is the person that Councillor Massacre represented his interests legally against the interest of justice and accountability in Liberia. And that he represented this person's interest against Liberians who are advocating for the establishment of the War and Economic Crimes Court. They believe that Councillor Massacre had a right to say, no, I cannot represent alleged perpetrators of war crimes in Liberia. He has that right to say, no, I will not do that. But he chose and made a decision that I will represent these individuals who are suing people that are seeking for justice for victims in Liberia. I will represent the accused interest against those who want to see the War Crimes Code to be established. So they said this man can't be the choice. In other words, they are saying there are so many Liberians who have been advocating for the creation of the War and Economic Crimes Code who happen to be liars or human rights advocates. And President Bouaka could do well by selecting someone who has been in this business or who have entrusted him or herself with seeking justice for Liberia, for Liberians, for victims, seeking accountability, and advocating for closure for the crimes that were committed in Liberia. President Bouaka could have done well by choosing somebody who have clue with human rights issues, who have interested themselves or him or himself with justice issues in Liberia. And now a lawyer who track record now has become taking people to court or representing the interests of alleged perpetrators, thereby filing lawsuits against institutions and individuals who want to see the War Crimes Code to be established. In other words, you have somebody whose behavior has demonstrated that he does not care about holding alleged perpetrators accountable. And then you have other individuals who are saying these people must be accountable, held accountable for the alleged crimes they committed. We are talking about war crimes and humanitarian crimes here. Yeah, few group of people who want to see these people held accountable. And then you have this one person who's saying, no, I'll represent those people. They have right to. In fact, I will sue you. Who wants to see justice in Liberia? In fact, I will take you to court. I'll represent this person's interest against your quest for justice. Because as a lawyer, that's my work. They are saying he had a choice to make. To represent either advocates for justice and accountability, war crimes court advocate. He had a choice to represent them. He chose not to. Instead, he chose to represent people who want to see those who desire the establishment of the War and Economic Crimes Code to either go to jail or lose their quest for justice. Massaquoi had that choice to make. Instead, he chose the side of those who have no interest in the establishment of War and Economic Crimes Code against those who have interest in the establishment of the War and Economic Crimes Code. That is how they see it. And so they said this choice is problematic. And President Bouaka did not make a good choice, they argue. And so they believe that looking at this man's track record, he does not make the right choice. He does not make the suitable choice. So here is the thing that we must also know. Councillor Jennifer Massaquoi was once appointed by President Bouaka to be justice minister. So many concerns was raised against his character that he did not have the character to serve as Attorney General for the Republic of Liberia, that he was not suited to play the role of Justice Minister for Liberia because he has serious questionable character. And so because of that, he was not the right person to be Justice Minister. Many people argue. President Bouaka looked at the wisdom of the criticism against Councillor Massaquoi, and he withdrew the nomination. President Bouaka at that point felt that the concerns raised against Councillor Massaquoi at that time were legitimate, were reasonable, and that he did not possess the character, the integrity, and he was not the best suited person to be Minister of Justice for Liberia. And so President Bouaka, in his judgment, did the honorable thing and the wise thing by rescinding his nomination or withdrawing his nomination. President Bouaka felt that the concerns against Councillor Massaquoi when he was nominated as Justice Minister were significant enough significant enough that he was not befitting to be just a minister. And so President Bouaka, on the merits of the issues raised against Councillor Maxwell, made that decision to withdraw his nomination. Now, think about it this way. The man was nominated to be just a minister, Attorney General for the Republic of Liberia and the Republic of Liberia only. There was a jurisdictional limitation. He could represent Liberia in Liberia. Now then we'll talk about War and Economic Crimes Court. The War and Economic Crimes Court, as we all know, it will be an internationally backed court. It will involve the United Nations, as it's been proposed. It will involve other countries who have interest. He will have to deal with other nations, like the United States, that have expressed interest in helping Liberia to establish the court. He will have to deal with United Nations. He will have to deal with ECOWAS, I believe, and other international institutions who have vested interest in the establishment of the War and Economic Crimes Court in Liberia. So the man was not qualified to be just a minister for Liberia. The War and Economic Crimes Court is, the court would be like an international institution or body. If this man was not suited, was not fitted to become just a minister for Liberia, how come he is suited? How come, when he did not possess the character and the integrity to be just a minister just a few months ago, where did he get that integrity and character from now? When he did not have that suitability a few months ago, when he was nominated as just a minister, how come, or where did he get that suitability and character and integrity from a month or two later to be the one to spearhead an effort that will involve the participation of the United Nations, the world body, the United States, the world's greatest power, and other international institutions with vested interest in what is to be a serious process, which jurisdiction I want to believe will extend to other countries and will not be limited to Liberia. How is President Bouaka taking this thing through? It's almost like saying this man was not qualified to be a player on that football team because he does not go to practice, or this man is not qualified or was not qualified to be a player on the football team because he's not a disciplined player. Many reasons why this player could not make the football team, could not play. Even though he was selected, but he was withdrawn. That's when he's not qualified to be a good player. He's not a good player for this team. But a few months later, he can be the coach for the team. How? To play, he was not qualified. On grounds of character, integrity, and suitability, he was not qualified to be a player. But now, a month later, he is qualified to be the manager for the team. This time, he will be managing the players, even though he was not even qualified to be a player, but he will become the manager of players. How can somebody who is not even competent to be a player be the one to manage the players? And not only the players, the institution or the team. Anyway, that is the concerns that many in the human rights community are raising. They believe this man is conflicted. They also believe this man does not have the character. He has never interested himself with justice issues in Liberia. In Commissioner Washington's word, he has no clue about justice issues in Liberia and in the world. He has no clue. He has represented the interests of alleged war crimes perpetrators against war crimes advocates. He can't play on that side something he has done so well and then come on the other side that he's been against to be the head. That is what they are saying. And so this is where we are when it comes to the War and Economic Crimes Code establishment. The Office for the War and Economic Crimes Codes, or the Office for the Creation of the War and Economic Crimes Codes, obviously might be in trouble. The individuals who have been advocating for this are unhappy. They've said President Walker did not consult them. Did President Walker need to consult them? You think President Walker needed to consult them? They feel that President Walker needed to consult them. They have been on this road seeking justice, seeking the establishment of the War and Economic Crimes Code. They wanted President Walker to consult them. Commissioner Washington and Commissioner John Stewart argue that immediately after the Liberian Civil War, when the TRC was established, they asked civil society organizations and other institutions and Liberian citizens to make recommendation who to form part of the TRC. Judy Bryan did not appoint the commissioners. People who serve as commissioners on the Truth and Reconciliation Commission were recommended by Liberian citizens, Liberian civil society institutions, and other institutions in Liberia. Because the process was about Liberia. They never wanted it to be a political process. It should have been, and actually it was, an apolitical process. They are arguing that the way President Walker now is the one looking for somebody to appoint, as he appoints all other political appointees, this will make this thing to look like a political office. They believe that if President Walker has sought recommendations and had consulted institutions like the Liberian National Bar Association, they will have recommended some individuals with impeccable character, people that have vested interest in human rights issues in Liberia, justice and accountability issues in Liberia, people who have made their business to seeking accountability for the crimes that were committed during the war. They believe President Walker should have done the most honorable thing by consulting these individuals and even soliciting their recommendation as to who would be best suited for this role. But President Walker did it the political way. And they are unhappy. And I don't think people should dismiss their concerns and their unhappiness. They have spent countless times, years, energy, and their resources. They've traveled. They dedicated themselves to this effort. And so I think they have a point. And they are not stopping there. They are calling on President Walker to rescind this selection of Councillor Mansakwe. Commissioner Massa Washington and Sam Waka should remove him and have a consultation with them from the Human Rights Committee as to who will be best suited. Commissioner John Stewart said the same thing. President Waka need to recall that person, remove him. He's not best suited. He's conflicted according to him. And he should have consultation with the Human Rights Community in Liberia, the National Bar Association, and if possible, the religious community in Liberia, as to who would be best suited for this role. The thing about the War and Economic Crimes Code is personal for many people. People saw their families, people saw their parents, their sisters and brothers killed by other individuals. Some of those individuals are still walking scot-free today. Some people believe the likes of Henry Reed Taylor, Gabriel Mansakwe, and other people play a significant role that led to the deaths of their family members. Trauma and pain that they deal with today. For the president to choose somebody who have been representing alleged perpetrators of war crimes, how can you choose somebody who have been representing, who've been serving as a lawyer for alleged perpetrators, be the one to decide how the code that will investigate this individual should be established? How? They are saying that is a poor choice. That is a bad decision by the president. And the president should do as he did before when concerns were raised against this individual that he was not best suited to be just a minister and had recalled him. He should do the right thing and have a consultation with the Human Rights Committee, the National Bar Association, and they will recommend someone who will be best suited so that this process can be accepted by the Liberian people and that the victims of the war, somebody they can be comfortable. How can they be comfortable with somebody who been representing individuals who they are accusing of contributing to the deaths of their family members? They believe that person is not the right choice and that the president is mistaken and he should do the right thing by rescinding the resignation, by rescinding this election, having a consultation, and coming up with somebody that the Human Rights Committee, the victims and survivors will be able to feel comfortable with and work with, and that will help in a very big way with this process. Well, I say right now, they are not willing to work with that office. And they must work with the office, or the office must work with them. And we are also calling on Councillor Mansakwe to also do the most honorable thing. Now, Mansakwe is also not quiet. He has his response. And here is his response to the concerns being raised by members of the Human Rights Community and also advocates for war and economic crimes courts. Councillor Mansakwe's response. In response to criticism, the Office of the War and Economic Crimes Code of Liberia defended Councillor Mansakwe's appointment, citing constitutional protections regarding the right to legal counsel and the non-interference in lawyers-client relationships. They argued that Councillor Mansakwe's past representation do not disqualify him for serving in a public capacity, highlighting international precedents where defense attorneys have transitioned into high-profile legal roles without controversy. The office reaffirmed Councillor Mansakwe's integrity and professionalism over his 15 years legal career, asserting his commitment to upholding ethical standards in his new role. They expressed readiness to engage with civil society organizations genuinely committed to accountability and the rule of law in Liberia. The office noted that the claim by the War and Economic Crimes Court advocates and human rights defenders contradict Article 21I of the Liberian Constitution. Today, we hear human rights advocates who should be moral guarantors of the Constitution of Liberia in the protection of the fundamental rights of all citizens, including the rights to legal opportunity, equal opportunity for work and employment, and not only Accra Peace Accord 2023 petitioning the government of Liberia to open it violates Article 21I only because of self-aggrandizement and appeasement, and not on the merits of any moral and ethical breach, the office stated. So right now, that is the Office for the Creation of War and Economic Crimes Codes responding to the concerns, the criticism, and the unhappiness of members of the human rights community. They are saying, what are they talking about? This man has the right, as provided for in the Constitution of Liberia, Article 21I, to represent individuals. He's a lawyer. What are they doing all this for? The Accra Peace Accord, said there should be a TRC process. The TRC process, recommended the establishment of the World and Economic Crime Code. The president issued the executive order creating that office. The president further now by selecting somebody. They should be happy. As human rights advocates and defenders, they are the guarantor of the Constitution of Liberia. The president is not in error yet. So why are they noise? The man is a professional man. He's been in the legal field, and he has transitioned from representing his clients to a public role. And as a Liberian citizen, he has right to employment. So what kind of noise are they making? The Office for the Creation of the War and Economic Crimes Court is responding to the criticism. This is more than the master choir man himself responding here. But the statement is written as though it is the office that is coming to the defense of its boss, Councillor Mansakwa. And this did not go well with Commissioner Washington. And she is saying this is complete fraud. That this office, I don't know if they have started work, and now is responding in this way, defending their boss. Seriously? Could they not at least hear from the human rights community and have a conversation with them? And now they are going like war to war or war for war in a war of wars now with the human rights community. And they think this is going to serve them well. Well, folks, in cyberspace, this is how we will come to the end of this edition of the Hour of Politics. We brought you the topic, where are we with the Office of the World and Economic Crime Court in Liberia? Where are we? And we have been able to provide analysis and giving you where we are with the establishment of the World and Economic Crimes Court. The office has been set up by the president to lead the efforts. Many are unhappy with the executive director of that office because of who he is, his record as a lawyer, the individuals he's represented, and they are saying he's conflicted. He cannot transition into another role and be trusted because he represented alleged war crime perpetrators against war crimes advocates, and that made him to be conflicted and not suited. And even in terms of character, he's not suited. If he was not good for justice minister, he cannot be good for War and Economic Crime Court office. No, they believe once he was bad to be justice minister of Liberia, he cannot be good for an office responsible to set up a process that will have an international flavor. This is bigger than what he was rejected for. So he cannot be good for what is even bigger. So that is it. And that is it. And this is how we will come to the end of yet another edition of the Hour of Politics here at Focus on Liberia. The sun, we are all Liberians, will close the broadcast. Thank you for watching, and bye-bye.
We are Liberia. Liberia is our home.